Today, we're going to be building a lead intake qualification pipeline. We're going to be wiring up a form with Tally, auto-qualifying every lead with AI, emailing them a customized reply, pinging the team in Slack for the new lead, and keeping our CM up to date all in one n8n workflow. And the best part is this is a very simple looking workflow right here. There's literally only 4 nodes, but behind the scenes, there are some powerful things happening. And we're going to build this from scratch to the end, starting with step 1, creating our form with Tally. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do for the entry into this whole workflow is for a lead to come in, they have to fill out a form. Okay, so you're going to go to tally.so, so tally.so. When you come here, you're going to be on the dashboard. If you haven't signed in yet, you need to create a sign-in. It's free, don't worry, I'm not paying for anything. So when you come here, you'll see something similar to this. You can create a new workspace if you want, but there will be a button here that says new form. Okay, so go ahead and choose new form. And then we're gonna go ahead and give this a title. So we can just call this lead contacts for now. And then go ahead and press enter from scratch. And what we're gonna do here is they have slash commands. So we're gonna have we have several fields. So the first one is gonna be, we want to get the first name. So these are all gonna be short answers. So you can start typing in slash short, and then we're gonna put in first name as the title or the label for that field. Next one is going to be, again, type slash short. This is gonna be last name. And then the next one will be email. So slash email. That's kind of more of so that means it's more of a validator. So just press the down arrow again to go to the next lines. And then that allows us to go ahead and create the labels and the fields. So the next one is going to be slash phone. So it's really nice that they have fields already defined for us so that we can have some sort of validation pre-built. So you could use the short answer for most of these if you really want to, but you don't, it's nice to have these. Okay, so we're gonna hit the down button again. So after phone, we have company. So this will be a short answer, and you just type in company. Okay, and then we're gonna go down for the next one. And this is gonna also be, it's actually gonna be a number. And this is gonna be the budget. So this is what budget do they have, to maybe if you're selling something, right? Or if you're offering a service, this is going to determine, they're going to input the budget that they have for that. Okay, and then the next one is just we can make this a long answer, actually. And this is just going to be describe your specific needs. Okay, so this is just going to be, allows them to input some more information about wherever this form is coming from, wherever they're going to be filling this out, as part of your lead intake. So this will just give them more information. Okay, so now with this, you're at the top right. After we've done this, make sure your first name, last name, email, phone, company, budget, and we're gonna click publish. So this is just going to take a second. Now we can go to the settings. There you can do some more things with this. You can, there's a progress bar. We can enable that. You can set email notifications as soon as they fill, as soon as they're completed. You can actually have it save later or save answers for later if you want, or if you don't want that. But I'm just gonna do the progress bar, go to save changes. And then what we're gonna do is go to share. So this is now the link that, people can go to. I mean, this is a free plan, right? But this is the link that we can copy and put somewhere. So whenever they go here, when they click a button to go to here, this is the form that they're gonna see. Okay, so this is just the form you have created. Now, if you don't see all this information, just go back. How to edit it is you can, here in the lead contacts, right? You can always go click on my workspace with lead contact, and then you can go to edit. Okay, now we can go ahead and edit this. You can move this around if you want. You can do anything that you need to. Okay, so we're gonna go back here to lead contacts. Okay, now with this, once we fill this out, what do we do with this, right? What happens to this? We haven't started the n8n workflow yet, because the great thing of why we're using Tally is that it has Airtable integration, like I had mentioned previously. So in order to do this, we need to now create our Airtable table, and then integrate that with Tally so it automatically creates a record there. And Airtable has been increasing in how powerful it is just within the last couple months. So let's go ahead and create the table now. Okay, so go ahead and go to airtable.com. Go ahead and create an account if you haven't already. You can just use the free plan for now, so you don't have to worry about doing anything else. But once you do this, on the left-hand side, you probably won't have anything here, especially if you haven't used Airtable yet. So again, Airtable is just an online database and it really makes a lot of things easier for you, like inserting, retrieving information. You don't have to set up a traditional database or anything like that. This has come a long ways just within the last year since I've been using it. Now they have AI integrated with it. I'm going to show you just how powerful and easy it is to make these tables in what are called interfaces so that we can easily see what's happening with our leads. Okay, so if you don't see anything here, there you go. On the left hand side, you can click the plus button. This is going to now let us create a new workspace. So we can call this Tally Lead Workspace. Okay, so in the middle space, you're going to have a create button. They call them apps. Really, it's really just like you can create databases, or they just shorten it to just say bases. But we're going to click the create button. Now you can choose either build an app with Omni or build an app on your own. We're going to choose build an app with Omni. And this basically means that we're going to build our table with, and I basically just said create a table called Tally Leads with these fields. And these are essentially just the fields from that we have created with the form. So I'm going to choose build it. And now it's going to use AI to go ahead and create this form. I mean, you're going to see it happen. It's also going to create interfaces so that we can easily see the data, so it's not all in just its raw form. And whenever you do this, it does create sample data for you, just so it fills it in and you can kind of see it working. And yep, okay, so now it's going to come and create the interfaces. So this is happening, this is doing all of this. You see on the left-hand side, is the prompting, the chat. And we've only put in what we want to, the field or the table we want to create, and now it's kind of doing everything else for us. Okay, so at the top here, we have data, automations, interfaces, and forms data. This is the actual raw data that gets saved. So what we want to do here is sometimes it adds in some like AI fields automatically. If you see the FX, these are just functions that it had created. So it kind of has like a budget tier for people. So what I want to do now is you can chat with this. Say, can you create an AI lead summary column and also an AI qualifier column, whether that shows whether they are qualified or not. That's it, actually. So then you're kind of just chatting with it, and now it's going to, because you can actually integrate AI agents into the column so that whenever data is coming in, an AI agent with a prompt, I think by default it uses GPT 4.1 right now, it's going to, take certain parts of data. You can give it data that's coming in from these fields, and then it will do something based off of that. Okay, and what it's done now is that we now have an AI lead summary and then an AI qualifier. So if we go to the AI lead summary, there's a little arrow drop down. You click that, edit the field, and then these are the instructions that it's using to gather information. So it's going to basically get the context and data from all of the other fields to give like a summary of this person and what they're asking for. And the same thing for qualifier. It's going to, based off of the budget, determine if they're qualified for, follow-ups and all of that. Okay, so now that we have that, we can also go to interfaces again, and you see this. What's nice about interfaces, there are multiple types of interfaces, is that it only gives the specific information that we need, and you can have multiple different interfaces. So we can have, which we will create, hot leads that only shows the ones that are actually qualified with maybe just a couple columns of information, making it easy to see exactly what we need. Okay, great. Okay, so now we need to integrate Airtable with Tally. So go back to Tally, and then under your workspace, and then lead contacts, go to integrations, which should be right here below in one of these tabs. Then look for Airtable, it's one of the top ones. Choose connect. Okay, so we can just name this Airtable lead connection Tally. And then we need to create a new account. So I'm going to create a new Airtable connection. So I'm going to log into Airtable. Now it's going to go through this process here. So what we want to do here though, is we want to add our base that we had just created, right? So mine was called Tally Leads, that was the base. And then you can just go ahead and choose grant all resources. But for the workspace, you only want this specific connection. You can create multiple, this specific connection to be created to the workspace that we just created. Then you click Then you choose grant access. Okay, so now we can choose a base, right? So tally leads, and then for the table, it's just called leads. You can find out if you go back to Airtable. If your interfaces go to data, the actual name for your table is here under the workspace name. So leads right here. Okay, so we're going to come back here. We can now start mapping everything. So the first name, this is the first name to Airtable. Last name is going to be the last name in Airtable. The company, same thing. Budget, describe your needs. We also need to add the email because it doesn't add all of them for some reason. And then we also need to add the phone number. And I'm going to show you why this isn't showing up, right? So in Tally, email is an email field, but in Airtable, it's just a line of text. So if we go back here to Tally or to Airtable, you can see this letter A beside the column. That means it's single line text. So click the drop down, edit field, and then we can click the drop down. This is the type. So we're going to switch this to email. Click save, just confirm the change. And then the same thing for the phone number. Click the drop down right here beside the phone number column, edit field. And then instead of single line text, we are going to choose phone number. Click save again, confirm the change. And then if we come back here, click the drop down again. Let's do some refreshing the fields right here. There's a little refresh button. Okay, now email shows up and then phone number. So now just go ahead and connect with Airtable. Okay, now we have this connection. Now we can go ahead and test this. So open up, again, you can go to the share button, you go to the share tab, copy this, put this in another tab. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and fill out some information here. Tyler, our email, so that we can work, gmail.com. And then let's put in, let's see, something that hopefully works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then for the company, just Tyler AI, and my budget, let's say my budget is 15,000. Okay, what is my specific need is I want to start creating courses or companies in the lead space. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is just go ahead and submit this. See, it says that this is not a valid phone number. Okay, so once you've submitted with a valid phone number, then it says thank you for completing the form. And then what we should be able to do is go back here to Tally, and you can see our phone number. This is what we had just created, right? This is the information. You can minimize that on the left. This is the information that we just used. And so now we can choose to run the agent here, or instead, if you go to the field, edit field, you can click the button, turn that on to run automatically every time a new row is coming in. So we'll go and do that now. Choose run automatically, click continue. So again, just go to the columns, do the drop down, edit field, and then choose to have the agents run automatically. Okay, so it says that I am qualified, which is great. And if you go to interfaces, it now auto adds me here in the lead list. Okay, now that we have that set up, we are finally able to start working on our flow. And again, it's gonna be really simple. The flow is going to look simple, but there was some setup, but it's gonna be really powerful, okay? So now what we're doing is when we insert a row of data into Airtable, we now basically wanna have a trigger that looks for those new rows being added. So go ahead and create a new workflow in n8n. We're gonna choose add a first step. You're gonna look for Airtable. You can choose Airtable, and then the triggers is on a new Airtable event. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and create, I don't have a token that has access to the table in the base that we just created. So what we have to actually do is go back to Airtable. And then, so at the bottom left here, you'll have your accounts. Mine is the T for my name. So go here, then go to Builder Hub. And then once you do that, if you're not there yet, there's a personal access tokens tab on the left-hand side. And then we want to, on the right-hand side, choose create token. Now for the name of the token, you can name this whatever you want, n8n leads. Then for the scope, you want to do data. There are some that you have to do for n8n. So you need data records read, data records write, and then you also need schema bases read. And then for the access, this tells us what base that we want to have access to. So we want to have access to the Tally leads base, or everything in that workspace essentially. So we want Tally leads. So we're going to create the token and then copy the token that you saw on there. We're going to go back here to create credential. We're going to create a new credential. We can call this Airtable leads with Tally. And API key is kind of deprecated, so don't use that. So access token, that is what we got. It tells you, make sure you have these 3 resources or scopes enabled. The scopes enabled whenever we went through that. Choose save. And if you do this, you should get green that you got the connection tested successfully. If you didn't get this, either you didn't actually copy the access token here right, or you didn't paste it in right, or you didn't give it these 3 accesses. And again, if you didn't, I can come back in here to n8n leads, and you can add a scope and add the ones that you don't have. So now let me come back here. We now have our Airtable leads with tally. Now let's go what we're going to do. Oh, so we need to now give it the correct ID and URL specifically for this table. I'm going to show you how to do this because this is not intuitive how this works. So what we need to do is you're going to go to your tally lead workspace, then go to your tally leads Airtable. You can see up here in the kind of space right here, in the URL, I'm sorry, there's a little string that begins with an app, and there's one that begins with TBL. App is basically the base. So we're going to copy that, go back to the base and choose by ID, put in that app. And then for the table, we're going to go back here and TBL, short for table. So we're going to copy that. Also for the table, go by ID and paste that in right there. And then the trigger field, this can really be anything because this is based on a new record being added in. So we could even just go by first name or email. So, it doesn't really matter. We can go back here and the trigger field could be email. Okay, so let's go ahead and fetch a test event now to see if it grabs one. And it does, right? It's not going to be ours. It's going to be the first one that was really added into the workspace. But this is the biggest part, that it worked. Now, whenever we get this new lead, we want to send a follow-up email and also send a notification to Slack to our team so that we can continue going forward. All right, so the first one we are going to integrate is Gmail. So click the plus button, so then type in Gmail. Go ahead and take this node, and then we want to send a message. So we're just going to send a message here. Now, if you haven't already, you can easily create a new account with Gmail. All you have to do, especially if you're using the cloud version, all you have to do is go to new credential and then sign in with your email and just go through the couple steps and you got your Gmail account. Okay, so that's really simple. Now for the the subject and the actual message, this is where, it kind of matters. So now for the to field, this is going to be a follow-up to the new person that is now a lead. So you're going to just drag and drop the email field there. Okay, so now we have their email. And then the subject is, we can call this intro call. First off, instead of fixed, we want it to be expression. Intro call for, and then we can just drag in full name. If the full name, this was an auto-generated field from Airtable, you could just drag and drop the first name, add a space, and then do last name also. And then we can say from, you can modify this, but this can be from the company that they're a part of. So this is gonna say intro call for Priya Singh from Fresh Start Ventures, for example. Okay, the type, just keep that HTML. And now let's go ahead and create a customized message that is going to be sent out to this person. And so what I'm going to use, I'm going to say hi and just get their first name. Thanks for reaching out about Fresh Start Ventures. We'd love to discuss your goals. Please book a time here. Okay, so now for the book a time here, this is where we're going to give them a Calendly link so they can just click it and go ahead and then go through the process of finding a time that's available for them over the next couple of days. So this means we need to now create a Calendly link. So we're going to go to calendly.com and go ahead and sign in if you haven't already, right? If you haven't used Calendly yet, you can use the free account to have calls that you can set up. So what you would do is you're going to go to, once you come here, right, in scheduling on the left-hand side, you're going to go to create, and we can just do a one-on-one. So we can call this a follow-up call. And the duration, let's just make it, maybe we can just make it 15 minutes, right? And then here in the availability, this is where you can put in your actual, the time slots that you're available for. That's fine, we can keep it that way. And then we're gonna go ahead and choose create. There are way more options that we can choose. So if we go here, you can change the actual, the link. So instead of /follow-up, you can say /intro or whatever you like to make that. For this, you don't really want to collect a payment, right? But this is also a preview of what it would look like. So let's just go ahead and keep things the way they are. So we're going to go to save changes. And then we can go up here at the top. There are several ways you can do this, but just copy this link. We're going to go back to n8n. and I'm just gonna paste this right here. So this is now the link that they're gonna get for Calendly. Now, of course, in this example, this email doesn't actually exist because it was one that was created as part of Airtable. So for this just particular example, I'm going to just type in mine because we want to test this. So I'm going to execute the step. Okay. And now I'm going to go to my email and check it out. Okay, so here it is. Here is the subject for the email, intro to call for Priya Singh from Fresh Start Ventures. Hi Priya, thanks for reaching out. We'd love to discuss our goals. Please book a time here. So all they would do is now they would click this, which is what I'm doing right now. And then here is all the available time slots that you can obviously modify on your end of when they would like to schedule. So then I can just schedule this, click next, and then enter some details. And then now we have a scheduled event from that person. Great. Now, the next thing is we want to send a Slack notification to our team, letting them know that we got a new lead. Okay, so alongside of the send message, we also want to add a new node. So you can just drag and drop. We're going to type in Slack. Okay, now we want to just, there's 42 actions, right? So just filter it at the top right, just type in send, and we just want to send a message. Okay, now I do have a Slack account created already, but let's see if we can modify it for what we need here. So let's go ahead and create a new credential. We're going to use OAuth 2, going to connect my account. Okay, so the first thing is we are going to need to create a Slack app, right? So in n8n's credentials for their integrations, they have 4 Slack credentials. How to do this, they go through all the steps here on this page, but they have the link here. So we're going to open the Slack API app. I'm going to open this up over here. So just make sure that you already have a sign-in for Slack. So if you don't even have Slack, you haven't used it, when you go to slack.com, just create an account, okay? And then whenever you go to this link for api.slack.com, when you go to create a new app, choose from manifest, you can select a workspace, right? So then you can also choose sign into a different workspace right here. Then we're going to choose next, and then just choose next again, and then go ahead and choose create. Okay, so you're gonna have a bunch of information here, and don't worry, I'm going to delete this because I don't need to use this one. But then on the left-hand side here, under OAuth and permissions, this is a little tricky, by the way. They don't really make this super easy to use, so just bear with me, we'll get through this. Okay, so if we scroll down a little bit, there are these scopes here. So we're gonna add an OAuth scope. We want to be able to write to our Slack channels. So if we start typing in write, these are chat write, and then we can open up another one. Let's see, assistant write. I think it is channels invite. No, that's invites. There are several things here, right? We just want to make sure that we got all these. Actually, that might be, I mean, you can write reactions if you want, but this is just, there's a lot of different scopes that we can use here to give the app access, but I think that's actually all we need right now. Now, if we scroll back up, we can choose OAuth tokens, install to Tyler YouTube. So we're going to choose allow. Great. Okay, so now that we are creating a new credential back in n8n for our Slack account, you can choose connect my account. And then this is just the workspace that has been created that you have. Then it would choose allow. Okay, now the connection was successful. Okay, great. So now the operation is send. So what do we want to send the message to? Well, we want to send the message to a channel. And then we want to choose from a list of channels. So these are ones that I already have. So I'm going to choose notifications. I'll show you how to create a new channel in a second. Then we have to have a message that we actually want to send. So what we could say is new lead, and then make sure this is an expression, new lead, and then we can put in the full name, and then we can have the email within parentheses. So we can put the person's email, and then we can say company equals, and then, you know, whatever the message that we want, right? So this is just kind of giving some basic information about the new lead, but this is being sent to all of our team members. Okay, before we send this, let's make sure that we have a notifications channel and it's ready to be used in Slack. Okay, so go ahead and go to slack.com. You'll see that you have these workspaces here for your sign-in. So I'm going to launch my workspace. I'm just going to stay on the web. You know, you can use the app if you want to. So I'm going to choose use Slack in your browser. It's just easier to record, really. Now, I already have notifications, right? But if you see here in the apps on the left-hand side, we now have the demo app, right? Now, what I want to do is actually, let's just create a brand new channel. Go to next, channel details. So the channel name, let's just call this leads. Okay, so go ahead and create. Okay, you can also add email address of people who aren't a member of this. Okay, so we're gonna skip that for now. So now we have a leads with nothing in there, but we need to add the application, the demo app needs to have access to that in order to actually send the message. Okay, so then you're gonna right click on leads, go to view channel details, go to integrations, add an app, and then you're gonna choose your app. I'm gonna choose demo app. Okay, so now demo app has joined. Now the app has access to, or the bot you could say, has access to send messages here from n8n. Okay, now we're gonna go back to n8n, and now I went ahead and refreshed this, choose leads now, as that should be a part of your app. Now we just choose execute step. And that should work. Okay, this is the actual message that was sent. So if we go back to leads, we should now have a new lead so that our team knows that we now have a new lead and we can start doing something with that. Okay, great. Now there's one more thing we need to do, is that I want to update the Airtable, letting us know that we just contacted them through an email so that we had that information so we can nurture the lead and do more things with the lead in the future. So this means we can quickly go back to Airtable, and then once you're in your lead, so here I'm in my workspace, tally leads, and then the table leads, I can say I just want to add a new column. Can you add a new column called contacted at, and I will fill it in. Okay, so this is just a new column that I want to add to this table, and so that we can go ahead and update once we've sent the follow-up email. We can go ahead and update this just so that, again, we know when we contacted them. So we go back to n8n while that is sending it out. So after we send the message, we want to update Airtable. So we want a new Airtable node, and we're going to update a record, and then we need to choose the correct account. So Airtable leads with tally. So we want to choose the base tally leads. From the table we're going to choose from is the leads table. And see, now it has a contacted at. How we want to match this is really probably by the email, because that will be unique. So if we now open the Airtable trigger, we want to, instead of columns to match on ID, we want to match on the email. Okay, and then all we want to care about is we don't update anything else. We just want to update the contacted at. So this is what we can do, is you can actually do this, choose now, and this is actually not going to update again to correctly to Airtable. So at the bottom, go to add option, typecast, and then enable that. So then it will transfer the correct date to the way Airtable can read it. Okay, then if we were to execute this step, it should update properly. So if we go back to our tally leads, this was for Priya. So now we have the latest contact. Now when we contacted her at 9/17/2025. Okay, great. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there is something with interfaces. So let's go to interfaces. I want to add a new interface here for the hot leads, meaning that they're definitely qualified based on their budget. You can do it any other way, but if you go to new interface, so we're gonna type in hot leads, that is the name of it. And then this will just be a list. We're gonna choose next from the leads table. Okay, so we have hot leads. Okay, so these are the hot leads, but we don't really have a filter. Right? This is just everybody. So it's not, you don't see it, but if you click over here, there's a plus button. We need to put in the budget, right? And then we kind of want to put in the AI qualifier, make sure that we have the qualified people. And now what we're going to do is add a filter. So we can add a filter, or choose filter, go to add condition. And this is where the budget, we can say, is greater than, this is some value, right? So I can say greater than 10,000. And see, it automatically is filtering out. So these are just our hot leads. We can certainly modify this too. So you could say, if you want to do more, greater than or equal to. So now we only have 4 qualified members, and we can actually sort these by their budget. And you want to go 9 to 1, means descending. So we start at the highest. So now when you come to Airtable, you can just clearly see who are maybe your best leads who can pay for the services that you might be able to sell. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and save this. Okay, and just to make sure this works, you can always just execute the workflow again. And it might use the same data, but it's going to, this worked. We have literally 4 nodes, but that's all we need. And this is such a powerful workflow for your lead nurturing. Okay, so I just want to say great job. These are automations that can actually be beneficial to you, can really help ensure that you have the potential to make money, right? Because if you're not nurturing leads, or you're not saving them, or you don't have some way to help your team out to capture potential sales calls, or to follow up on sales calls to make sure you're meeting the needs, so that it's for you to make money, right? But these automations, even though this looks simple, is powerful. It doesn't have to look complicated to actually be powerful, right? It can be simple and still be very powerful. Sometimes more powerful than the ones that are spaghetti monster mess. Okay, thank you for watching. Again, you can join my free school community where I will have this for you. Go ahead and test this out. Again, you should really be using Airtable. Very powerful database right now to use, especially since the AI integration that they've added. And for the next video, you should watch this video if you want to see how SubMagic is going to edit your videos for you. And then this video to automatically schedule your short form or your long form videos for any platform that you can think of or that you have an account for.